Welcome to the Pokebattler Raids tutorial. We're at pokebattler.com/raids. Our raid guides allow you to see which Pokemon will work best against different raid bosses, helping you maximize your damage, get more balls, save time and potions, solo better, and more. You can see here we have every boss listed, the legendaries that are available right now, and then we have everything else organized by tier. We even have legacy bosses that aren't currently available. You can click on any of these to see who the best counters are, or you can go to custom and click your raid boss from there, which is what we're going to do, and we're going to check out Raikyu's best counters. Now I'm going to switch to by level. Normally you want to be using my Polka Box, which gives you custom results based on the Pokemon that you actually own, and obviously that's normally preferable, but for the sake of this tutorial we're going to look at generic counters. As we can see right now we're at level 30. And the number one counter here is this Rhydon, and so we're going to click on him to find out more information. We're going to see here there are 6 of the same identical Rhydon, same CP, level 30, perfect IVs in a row, same moveset. So our results are made using just one Pokemon 6 times in a row, and then extrapolating out to determine how many of that one Pokemon die before the boss is beaten, and how much total time it would take to do that. For example, if the first counter in this Raikou guide is this Rhydon, your results are based on that same Rhydon being in all 6 slots of the raid with no other players involved, just your 6 Rhydon one after the other. Obviously, this isn't a realistic scenario for a raid. We use this formula as a way to compare different Pokemon as counters, not as a method for predicting how gameplay will actually go, like in our battle simulator. Now let's break down each stat. Let's go back here and look at our first stat, which is the skull icon. That refers to the number of times that Pokemon will die against that boss until that boss is beaten, assuming you had an unlimited amount of time. So if you have a Rhydon against a Raikou with 24 or 25 skulls on it, like you see here, that means it will take 25 of that identical Rhydon to beat that boss, with the 26th killing the boss. Now let's click on him and look at these other stats. Power, this is a big one. The power is the percentage of damage done to a raid boss's health by 6 of that exact Pokemon in a row within the number of seconds possible for that raid. 300 seconds for tier 5, like in this case, 180 seconds for tier 4, etc. So if the power is 24.2%, that means after 6 of that one Pokemon attack and die, that boss will have a little over 75% of its health left. If the power is over 100%, that means that boss has died at least once. So for example, if power is 250%, that boss has died 2.5 times during the 6 times that that Pokemon attack within the raid time. Obviously, again, not a realistic scenario, it just gives you an idea of how powerful those counters are against that boss. Since we see the top power here is 24.2%, that's less than a quarter of Raikou's health, so it would take you 5 groups of your identical Rhydon armies with these levels, IVs, and movesets to take down that Raikou within the 300-second time limit. So obviously, this tells you that Raikou is not a soloable boss, which everybody already knows. Okay, now let's look at time to win. Time to win is the amount of time it takes one Pokemon cloned 6 times in a raid, fighting, dying, then being reborn until it defeats the raid boss. So if a Rhydon takes 1,003.5 seconds to beat a Raikou, that means your infinite number of 6 groups of Rhydon took a total of 103.5 seconds. If you look at the combat time, though, that's how long it actually would take those 6 Rhydon to die within your 300-second time limit. We see here that Rhydon only lasts 243 seconds. They die well before the 300-second mark. So we hear all 6 guys here have lost all their health with, a fair amount of seconds to go before the raid battle is over without rejoining. Obviously, you would probably rejoin normally. Win percentage, as we see here, ranks by the percentage of chance to win. If the boss is soloable at all, you'll get something above 1%. If he's not, like in this case, you'll get 0. So for tier 4 and tier 5, we pretty much, every single thing says 0%. Okay, now let's look at one of the most important stats, the overall stat. The overall rating gives the Pokebattler recommendation for the current analysis. This rating weighs various components differently based on the empirical analysis of many different situations. In general, the formulas are weighted such that you should win the battle. In the case of raids, get 2 or 3 extra bonus balls without rejoining. Let's look at the actual equations for those. Okay, so here we see they're different depending on which tier raid you have. These are our current overall equations for 2018. They have been updated and tweaked recently. Tier 1 through 3 is
75% time to win, 25% power. Tier 4 through 5 is 66.7% time to win and 33% power. These equations are based on trying to prevent situations where you end up getting one-shotted, where you put a guy in who has a really good time to win score. He can cause a lot of damage quickly, but then he gets hit by one charge move and is taken out immediately before you even are able to get his charge move off, right? And everyone's been in that situation, and it's frustrating. So these formulas are designed to lower that chance of that by taking into account the boss's ability to survive a little bit longer, not just cause as much damage as possible. But some people prefer to just filter by time to win, which is completely fine, to each their own. However, overall is our recommended formula for taking into account multiple different factors when choosing counters against a raid boss.
Now let's look at one last stat. The potion stat, which we see right here, helps us figure out how many potions you'll need to make up for the lost health after a battle. We use a basic 20 HP potion as a baseline potion. Revives always heal half your health. So we represent a revive as 5 potions. Let's look at the actual equation we use. Deaths multiplied by 5 plus the attacker's HP divided by 2 divided by 20 plus the last attacker's damage taken divided by 20. So remember that the 5, it represents the revives, right? So then we divide by 2 because the revive has already healed half the health. And then we divide by 20 to represent the 20 HP basic potion. And then this is in case one of your guys does not actually die at the end, to figure out how much HP you need to heal him. And then you multiply this whole thing by deaths to get an actual accurate number of how much potions you need and revives. So if you want to know how many actual potions you need versus just revives, you can do a little math here. So for example, if the results are 50 and there were 4 deaths, you know you need 4 revives. So 4 times 5 is 20. So out of the 50, 20 of that just represents revives, and then 30 of that is how many actual basic potions you need to revive your Pokemon. Now let's look at an outlier scenario, a tier 5 Mewtwo. Alright, now we're going to look at a specific moveset here. And we're going to see that the number 4 counter suggested is a Blissey. And I know this is Pokemon Go heresy to say that a Blissey is a good counter, but the simulator does not lie. And if we analyze here, we can see that actually, amazingly, only 4 Blissey will die during the 300 seconds against a Mewtwo, which is pretty unusual because Mewtwo is a super strong character, very high DPS. But because Blissey is so tanky, he's actually able to survive the battle without all 6 of them dying, which makes him a pretty good counter against Mewtwo. Now, he's lower DPS, so you probably don't want all 6 of your counters against a Mewtwo to be a Blissey. But this does make a good argument for having, 1 or 2 Blisseys as part of your raid group against a Mewtwo because he is so tanky, and he'll actually survive long enough to dole out some decent DPS against Mewtwo. Now let's go back and look at some of our other sorting options. So we have here is level and attack strategy. This level sorting option lets you choose what level you want to do. We're soon going to start cutting these down to every 5 levels, not every single level or every single level and a half level, because we only do Monte Carlo sims on every 5 levels. So make sure you're doing an integer of 5 here because you're going to get more accurate results. So try to choose a level that's closest to what your top counters levels are at, not just what your Pokemon Go trainer level is at, to give you the best idea of who your counters level should be. Unless, of course, you're using my Polka Box, in which case just use my Polka Box. You don't have to worry about that. For attack strategies, you can see all the different kinds here. Pokebattler offers many different attack strategies depending on your playing style. The most popular for raid battles is no dodging, as dodging tends to make the clock run out too fast, and between all the bugs and legs, it just doesn't seem to work anyway. So let's define what every single dodge strategy means. No dodging, number 1 here. You use your fast attacks as quickly as possible until you can unleash your charge attack. It's a pretty simple one. Only fast moves, you use only fast moves as quickly as possible. No charge moves, that's a different strategy. I'm not sure why you would do that, but you know, to each their own. Dodge specials. You use attacks until you can dodge their special. Then you use your charge attack. Dodge Specials Pro, use fast and charge moves as soon as you can, but then you end up dodging their charge attack. Dodge All Pro, you use fast and charge attacks in between dodging all of their moves. Dodge All, you use fast attacks and dodge moves until you can dodge their charge attack, and then you use your charge attack. And then Dodge All Weave. This one is extra fancy here. This is the scaredy cat of the Pokebattler dodge simulations. Dodge All Weave will assume the worst. It will assume that the move will come at the shortest possible delay. Technically speaking, it assumes a defender delay of 1.5 seconds. It wants to guarantee it can dodge next attack. It is something that can be reproduced by real humans. So whereas these, are more sort of a best case scenario. Yes, if you're a robot, you can always pull these off. The Dodge All Weave is trying to simulate more of a human scenario. Now let's talk about grouped versus single. This is that thing right here. So different movesets can make a big difference against bosses. Pokebattler offers 2 different sort options, grouped and single. The 2 options are designed to have people click between the 2 quickly and easily to compare and contrast. Grouped shows just one type of each Pokemon, like we have here. 1 Tyranitar, 1 Mewtwo, and then their top moveset. Like for him is Bite Crunch. Mewtwo is Psycho Cut Shadow Ball. If I click on Tyranitar, I can see he has his other movesets here, but I don't know how they compare to any other Pokemon. I just know how they compare to the other Tyranitar movesets. It doesn't give me an idea of who the best top counters truly are. Whereas if I hit single up here, then I see who really lines up compared to the other Pokemon based on moveset. So number 1 is still him, but then it's Mewtwo, and then Tyranitar, then Mewtwo, then Tyranitar, then Tyranitar, then Snorlax, right? And so some of those Tyranitar are so sucky they don't even make it in the top 24. And really only 2 Mewtwo, both with Psychic and Ghost moves, are the only 2 decent Mewtwo. So Mewtwo with totally different movesets isn't even worth considering in this particular raid battle. Grouped gives you an idea of just who the top guys are from a quick glance. But single gives you an idea of who really are the best Pokemon based on their vastly different movesets. Now let's talk about my Polka Box. Assuming you have a Polka Box account, which you definitely should, we offer a free account up to 50 Pokemon in your Polka Box for all users. And then you can support our Patreon if you want to open up more slots than 50. And it gives you an exact results based on which Pokemon you actually personally own versus just who the best counters are in general. So it's obviously much more accurate, a much more custom experience. Now let's talk about Moveset. Our automatic settling is unknown. Most of the time when you're entering a raid, you don't know what the boss's moveset are, of course. However, for the best results, you may want to know what the boss's moveset is to get more specific counters. So, figuring out what a boss's moveset is. And say, like we have here with Mewtwo, he has some pretty big differences. He has some double psychics, or he could have ghost, he could have fighting. It's going to make a difference when you're fighting him. To get the best counter guide, you want to figure out their moveset, so you can try doing a dry run by entering the raid just to see what the moveset the boss has, losing on purpose, using Pokebattler to find the best custom results, and then rejoining the battle. You can still use the same raid pass. But if you could also just join the battle using the unknown counters, hope for the best. If you win, great, but if you lose, hopefully you've paid attention to what the movesets are, and you can rejoin with more accurate counters after, again, going back to Pokebattler.com. How much of a difference does the moveset make? It just depends. Like Entei, for example, he's all fire, right? He doesn't have a huge difference. So like if we check out Entei here, his top counters for unknown are not going to be a huge difference. Like you can see, some things move order here a little bit, but there isn't a huge variation, right? It's a variation on a theme. But for somebody like Lugia, who has some vastly different movesets, you're probably going to get some different results. See there, it's like, oh, 1,000,000 Tyrannitars. It's going to make a big difference. So it just depends on the scenario. It depends on how close you are to whether or not you're beating a boss to see whether or not that's worth it. How to figure out which move a boss has. You need to pay attention. Special moves are announced as long as they are not hidden by the effectiveness text. For quick moves, look at how much damage they are dealing and how long it takes between moves. And for the animations, which vary between each move type. It may help to look at our Pokedex here to see the different move types. So let's say for Mewtwo, we're going to see that even though both his quick moves are psychic, they vary vastly in the amount of time they take. So Psycho Cut's 0.6 seconds, but Confusion's 1.6 seconds. So it takes a lot longer. So that's something to pay attention to give you an idea of what his moves actually are. And that's all she wrote for today's tutorial. Thanks so much for being a fan of Pokebattler.com. And we hope you have a great day. And we hope you have all the tools you need to go kick some raid boss butt.